All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Adam Fairbanks. I'm an enterprise solution consultant with SPRY. Wanted to welcome everybody to the webinar today. And we're going to be talking about APIs and MCP and open and closed systems. And we're going to keep this very informal. We're just going to be talking back and forth a little bit about some of our capabilities. And there's going to be several people on the webinar joining me. And so without any further ado, I'll let each one of them introduce themselves. Let's start with my partner here at JBoo. My partner here at SPRY, JBoo, if you want to introduce yourself first.
Thanks, Adam. Hey, my name is Jebu. I'm the CTO here at SPRY. I had everything technology here at SPRY. I've been with SPRY for about 2 years or so. Yeah, so that's me. BJ, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is BJ Patari. I'm a physical therapist in California. I'm in private practice. I own 3 clinics, and we've been using SPRY since 2024, and it's been exciting to see everything that SPRY has brought to the table that used to be off limits to us in private practice. So, yep.
Welcome. Maybe VCHAR next.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Adam. Hey, Vichar here. I'm the Chief Product Officer and one of the co-founders at Confido Health. At Confido, we are a AI workflow automation platform for specialty care practices, helping them automate some of the most manual workflows like front office, patient access, scheduling, back office as well. We're very excited to work with Spry. We've been working with a variety of EMRs throughout our engagement across multiple specialties, but I would say Spry is one of the most tech-forward ones in the PT space.
Perfect. And Kevin.
Hi, my name is Kevin Mills. I'm one of the co-founders of USA Sports Medicine. We have 21 locations across South Florida. We recently came onto Spry about 6 months ago, and we were just looking for a solution to kind of integrate all of our different service lines. So it's been a nice change for us.
Excellent. I appreciate that. All right. And for the audience, just so you know, you can ask questions as we go. And we will take, depending on how many there are and how pertinent they are, we will take some of them as we go. And then we'll try to address a bunch of them at the end if you have questions at the end. So, all right. Well, why don't we dig in a little bit? Can you guys now see the next screen? I want to make sure this is working from
Yeah.
on my side.
Yeah, we
Can
can
you?
do.
Okay.
Good,
What we
Adam.
will cover today. Okay. Very good. So here are some of the points that we're going to be covering today. Why an open infrastructure matters now. We're going to be covering APIs, MCP, which I think is probably the least recognized or least known term in our industry, and governance. We're going to address building around the clinic, not the vendor roadmap. We're going to speak to connected patient access at scale, the enterprise opportunity, and where this goes next. So that's going to be the agenda. And so we'll start with why open infrastructure matters. And this is the problem. So here, there are a few industry statistics. What we continually see is Medicare payment cuts. You can see the first statistic here with it 5 years in a row that it's fallen, and it's fallen by 2.83%. Which, I think everybody in the industry talks about that. We're always facing that. But it's now been 5 years in a row. I've been around for over 2 decades. There actually, even though people complain about that, I see almost every show and every year. There have been years where it has actually gone up statistically. So it's just know this is a real danger that we're facing right now, and a trend that is not good at all. Drop in the inflation-adjusted Medicare physician pay. So there's actually been a decrease in physician pay when you factor in inflation. While the practice costs have risen by 59%. And so, as the economy, as housing, as property, all the different values are going on, we see that there is a decrease in pay for physicians while the practice costs keep rising. The next stat is 91% of PTs say that administrative burden contributes to burnout. So burnout is a real, I would say it's an ongoing problem in our industry. That PTs and OTs, they burn out. And that has led to a reverse demand where we are short on therapists. We need more therapists in the industry, and we're not getting them quick enough out of school to meet the demand, and a lot of that is due to burnout. And then last one, 3 in 4 practices have hired staff solely to keep up with payer requirements. So not only as we face all these challenges, but the payers seem to be getting more and more complicated, and that is driving more and more demand for additional staff. Did anybody have any comments on the demands? Is that what you guys are also seeing in your areas and your practices?
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, very good. Okay, now this next slide just talks very quickly about when systems don't connect, teams have to fill a gap. So what happens is a lot of the vendors and a lot of the systems out there, I have experience with all the major vendors. Some of them are written in the same database, the same programming language as a very good system. However, the majority of them are not. A lot of them have different systems that they've kind of bolted or patched together for scheduling, for patient, for the RCM, for the different patient engagement and things like that. And what happens is when the more systems that are bolted together, the more connections that have to be made, and the more points of failure that then are introduced into those infrastructures. And when that happens, whenever those failure points are activated, whenever there is something that breaks down, it ends up falling on the staff. It falls on the practice and the staff to manage that until they can get the vendors and all those connections back up and running. So yeah, just know that that continually then now adds to the burden at the clinic if you're using a system that is desperate and that hasn't been connected right. And so this one now talks about why can't we in healthcare, especially in physical therapy space, why can't we match what some of the other groups are doing? And so these are some examples, Amazon, Stripe, and Twilio, of systems that are out there that have open, accessible, and are able to deliver at a really efficient and large scale. And why aren't we able to do that here in physical therapy and healthcare? So it's just one of the questions, or one of the things that we're going to be answering. And so now this slide gets into some of the details of what does make a system and what does make a product open and available. And so you'll see that there's 3 areas here. There's APIs, MCP, and governance. In order for you to really understand APIs, I think that what you have to do is just reflect back on what I was just talking about. When you have a system and a vendor that has architected their product such that the billing is different from the scheduling, from the EMR, and from the patient relationship management and so forth, when those are different databases and different programming language, and where those systems are all bolted on together, what happens is it's very, very difficult in those situations for them to set up an API. And what is an API? It stands for Application Programming Interface, but what it means is the system open to the outside world and to being able to connect it in a seamless and flawless way for other systems to be able to access information through your system. And so what I see through my lens, and I come from a lens of both development and support, implementation, project management, and also sales and consulting. When I look at it through my lens, I would say that if the vendor doesn't have APIs listed, then that's probably a good example of a system that's closed off and the one that has not been architected correctly, one that's been patched together. Do you have any thoughts on that, JB?
Um, Yep, I think one thing that I would add on to here is that APIs may probably be easy to patch, or it should be patchable onto a disparate system. But the way that we have thought about at SPRY is that because we have built it ground up as a end-to-end piece, EMR plus RCM plus an API layer on top of it, and then everything that we have added on is something which allows you to bolt them together, right? So the API has been in our DNA right from day one. So we have built everything around the API. So anything that we have today, or anything that's been there or that we built, is starts off as an API, and then everything that ties around it. So we are an API first company in that sense, right? So that's probably what I would say about the API piece. And maybe I'll just add on to the MCP also before you get in, Adam, because APIs typically are the way in which systems expose the interface, and it's easy to add it as programming layer to systems, can connect them together and then start working together. And with the advent of AI and the models which are able to reason through and interact with systems, MCP is a protocol which allows you to, as the full form goes, it's model context protocol, right? So it gives you the context about what the model requires to interact with these API layer, per se, right? So, and the way we have done it also at SPRY is that it's a layer on top of the APIs. So we have made the APIs accessible to the models so that it can reason through, it can work with the data that's there in SPRY, and then can start working with the entire piece that's there. So it makes the entire piece available to the models to reason and act on.
Excellent. No, appreciate that. Wonderful explanation. And for those of you that are not familiar with MCP, it just stands for Model Context Protocol. And the way that I think about it is that when you're connecting two systems together, in the old days, I think that everybody's kind of familiar with this. We used HL7 and FHIR, and that was where you would send a single record from one system to another, like you would send over a patient demographic or a charge record, or a scheduling record, whatever you needed to communicate to another system, you would send over a single record. That single record probably has 10 or 20 fields, and you would have to configure it in that way. Model Context Protocol is the advanced AI version of that. It's a way to connect two systems, but instead of just sending over the single record, which if there's an update, it can break. If the operating system, it's very breakable, that little connection. Instead of sending over a single connection, it's like you're taking the entire patient with all of its history, and you're giving all of that information, making that all accessible to the other system. So you're providing that same record. However, you're also providing all the context around that record as well. So I think that's the way that I look at it, is just a much stronger and more robust way of delivering information back and forth. And what's neat about that too is when you set up those old HL7 FHIR transactions, you would have to kind of choose at what point do you do that. Do you do that like before the node starts, or when, at the very end, or when do you share that information? And it's usually a one-time thing that happens. With MCP, it's an interactive and on-the-fly, real-time connection. And so if somebody else has that connection, another system has that connection set up, and they could be in the middle of treatment, and they could say, I want to know something right now about that patient. It doesn't even have to be the current note. It can be the history of different notes in the past. It's kind of like when you're talking to a chat GPT and you want to have a fuller context. And it will right then come in and interact with our system, figure out what is needed, and then provide that information in real time, right when somebody else may need that information. So it's not even just at it's an ongoing live interface. And am I saying that right, JBoo? Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, very much right. So I think you've got it the right way. The essential element is that MCP allows agents to interact with the thing, reason through, and then stitch them together. So you don't have to. The earlier model is that you would have to program against an API. You would have to know before upfront as to what are the interface that I should use, what is it that I should pull out from a particular response coming in from an API, and then stitch them together to talk to the rest of the APIs. That's usually how you would build it, but with agents and MCPs, the agent now looks at what it's almost like a documentation of your API. It understands, it reads through, it figures out what it has to pull it. What are the others that you can do? So you can connect an EMR API, you can then talk to your CRM piece, you can talk to something else. It can stitch them all together without you having to kind of manually do all the coding, right? So that's what it all of this enables.
Right. Much fuller, more powerful, more robust. Doesn't break as easy. Okay, very cool. And then the last part here is the governance around it as well. And for to understand that, I think that you kind of have to look back at the history. When it first came out, the MCP, because it was so powerful, because it's so much information, and there's so many tools to get so much information out of what's given. In the old days, they didn't have a lot of the controls that were needed. And so, because that's so much information that's active and live, it was a big risk for clinics to put in MCP when it very first came out. This is years ago, but so I just wanted to let you guys know that nowadays with the current governance, it's more secure and it's more encrypted, it's more powerful, but it's safer because we have a bunch of governance layered into these connections. JB, did you have any thoughts on governance?
No, I think we should move on.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, we will move forward, and we're going to actually first meet Motion PT, where we'll talk to BJ over at Motion PT and let him speak to what we've done with them.
Okay, well, so as I mentioned earlier, I joined SPRY in 2024, but prior to that, I spent about 2 years meeting with different EMRs. The EMR I'd been with them since I think 2012, 2013. It's the major one in the industry. I won't name any names. And I saw a question asked, why don't more EMRs allow this type of access? Well, for about, 4 years, I was asking that EMR, like, please allow me access, please give me access to the data so we can build other things off on the side. And SPRY, after 2 years of doing research, SPRY was the only one that said, hey, we'll give you the access. We'll give you API access. Whatever you need, we'll build it for you. And to their word, that's exactly what they built right from the get-go. So that was my introduction to SPRY. And since joining SPRY, we've expanded to 3 clinics. We've grown our providers by about 100% since we joined. And the main reason for that growth is how much easier the administrative tasks have gotten with the access that they've allowed us to build our own side applications that streamline everything for our front office, from scheduling to texting to phone calls, everything. We were able to automate a lot more with the access that SPRY gave us.
Wonderful. Bijay, if I may ask a quick follow-on, right? So
Yeah.
you said that you've been trying to work with other EMRs, and but why is it that you would need custom matches? And this is something that I've seen across the board whenever I've talked to clients too, as to each of them. I don't see the same pattern across everybody, right? Each business seems to have their own ways of how they want to do their things. And could you speak a little more about that as to what's so different in this industry, and why is it a cookie cutter approach doesn't work?
I think, if I'm to be frank, I would say most of the EMRs want to control that data because that's another added on module they can sell you. So I'll give you the perfect example. With reminders, I was being charged 30 cents per appointment or reminder that went out. And when we were able to bill that ourselves just using patient patient demographic data, patient name, and what's their phone number, and then we could customize an app to send those reminders ourselves. The cost was 1/50th of what this EMR was charging me to send out that text reminder. So I think a lot of it is they want to control that data, so you have to buy their module that allows you to send text reminders or allows you to do, capture patient reviews at the end of the sessions. So I think that was probably the main thing that I saw. And when trying to, directly contact these EMRs and try to ask them like, hey, how can we build a connection here to an API connection? Most of them just said like, we do not allow that access at this point.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. And then
Sorry, I can talk about that. Yeah, sorry, I thought we were going to move on to the slide. So to give you guys an example of what we actually built with the API. One day I was scrolling. So SPRY has a page where they kind of display everything, all of their API connections to other applications like ZocDoc, and I think they have some CMR type connections as well. I saw that they have a ZocDoc API connection, and so I messaged Jebu and asked him, can I have access to this? Because we wanted to build something to kind of streamline our front office operations. And they gave me an access within 3 days. I was playing around with that API connection. And so the problem that we had was when I would sit in with my front office to kind of listen to how things are flowing in the front office, most of our, especially our Medicare patients, the elderly, whenever we needed to schedule an evaluation, it took us about 10 to 15 minutes of being on the phone. So, it goes pretty much, okay, what days and times work best for you? They give you hey, I need mornings on Mondays and Wednesdays. Our receptionist would offer them slots, and then you hear an excuse of why that doesn't work and that doesn't work. And, that took about 10 to 15 minutes. So what we ended up building with the API, ZocDoc API connection was we built an application where our front office literally just has to say this person is looking for Monday, Wednesday mornings. And through that connection, we're able to pull up all the open slots for our providers that meet that criteria of what the patient is looking for. And then it sends a text to the patient to select which day and time works best for them. Essentially what that did was it took those 10, 15-minute interactions and brought it down to 3 to 4 minutes. So now our front office just calls, hey, what days and times are you looking for? Is there a clinic you prefer? Do you need a female therapist, a male therapist? Do you need a special language accommodation? The front office can filter for all those things, and it pops up the next 10 open slots that meet that criteria, and we can send those via text. The patient clicks which one they want, and that information is then via API transmitted to SPRY to hold that slot for the patient. And SPRY automatically sends out the intake form, and that saves us about 10, 15 minutes just in the process of the front office offering slots and patients declining those slots and having to go through that process over and over again. The other cool thing is, as a private practice owner, we want to recruit therapists, and we're competing with large regional companies. We're dealing with the VA. They all need physical therapists. So one thing we can offer is, we can offer the therapist a certain lifestyle to say, hey, you only need to do 2 evals a day. You only, we won't do back-to-back evaluations. You can set all those things. And with this access, we were able to put those filters for each provider. So for each provider, we can say only 1 eval before lunch and only 1 eval after lunch. So all those filters are built in and personalized for each provider. So we make sure that we keep the providers happy and we don't, let them get overbooked with evaluations, and there's less burnout. And it's really hard when you have 12 providers for our 3 front office people at the 3 clinics to know, oh, okay, this PT at this clinic doesn't like this, or this patient or this PT at this clinic. So it's really streamlined our operation and make sure that the provider rules are not broken.
wow, yeah. Appreciate you saying that. That's really powerful. Did somebody else have a comment?
A quick question on that, BJ. There was somebody asking, how do you find the developers to build all this?
So I'm a programmer myself. I'm not a very good one, but I started programming in 2020, so I've been building these things myself. And now with the AI kind of helping you right along the way, it's much easier. But if you go online, the first program I hired, I think I hired through Upworks, and you just work with them directly one-on-one. And you can build all these things, partnering up with them. And the cost is not that bad, not as bad as you think it would be. But this where it used to be, it used to take me months to build applications. Now we have them built within over a weekend. I see patients full time, and on the weekend I can spend a few hours here and there. And by Monday morning, whatever the front office needed or needed tweaked, we have it tweaked, and it's ready to go.
So,
Wonderful.
you want to move on, Adam?
Yeah. So I was going to just mention this, what, what BJ's saying, and this is a quote from ZocDoc, but, basically, because we do have that open API, this was able to be done fairly quickly, fairly easily, and low cost, just everything that BJ is saying. Uh, However, and some of the other systems do allow for them to set up to a ZocDoc, but because it's not open, it's a very difficult and that effort to actually create a connection over to ZocDoc um, doesn't come onto the BJ side of things where he can just do it at his whim. BJ, you would have to wait for that vendor to create those connections themselves, and that can be very costly, and it can just limit a lot of the things. So I just was
Right.
trying to let people know what the normal pathway is compared to what your pathway is. It's just
Yeah.
a night and day when you're
I can give
working
a
with the
I can give a little bit more on that. What SPRY is actually doing is, so when we ping for an open slot, we're sending a connection, or we're sending a request to SPRY to say, hey, give us all the open slots that you have for emotion physical therapy. Those come back from SPRY, and it filters it through our filters, and then we can display it. And all we're doing is we're not using ZocDoc, the service itself at all. We're just using what SPRY created for ZocDoc, and we're tapping into that. So SPRY didn't have to build anything custom for us. It was already there, but we were able to just use that connection to customize it for what our company needs. And whenever we send information back to SPRY, it just uses that ZocDoc connection again and sends it back to SPRY to book everything on their end. So it's under the hood, it's very impressive, how much information we can gather and how much information we can set in, and everything just gets automated, for the front office and for the patient. And it's instant. It's, within 5 seconds, everything's said and done.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks for that clarity. I'm glad that we're speaking to the power of that. That's really fun. All right. So feel free also to jump in at any time in the future, but we'll move on now to USA Sports Medicine with Kevin Mills. And Dr. Mills, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience with SPRY?
Sure. So we have over 20 locations across South Florida, and we have one actually in West Florida. And as an organization that is continuing to expand and add locations, we were in a challenging um, space with other EHRs in that we had different logins to them. To BJ's point, the data was hard to access across the locations and get clean views of what we were looking for to plan kind of where we wanted to grow next. Uh, we were having, I think, a major issue when you have multiple locations is, and especially multiple locations with multiple specialties, is understanding, having the front desk and admin team understand what's happening at other locations. So we could have a patient call an office asking about a different office and their availability and things that they had there, and the person answering the phone might not know. So with turnover and other things. And so we needed a system that could accurately give the patient the information they were looking for when they called to leave to less, missed appointments and cancellations and that stuff. So we were just looking for
Beautiful.
an all-encompassing system that would allow us to use, I mean, there's so many cool tools out there now, different like RCM tools and client service tools, and we would just have, 5 different logins to different things, and we wanted it in one place, and that's why we made the decision to go with SPRY.
Nice. Yeah, that's not the funnest thing to have to keep track of all your different different passwords and so forth on the different systems. Yeah, appreciate
No, it's
that.
really challenging.
All right, very good. We did have one quick. Let me jump back to BJ, and so Candy had just asked a question, and we'll just grab this while it's still fresh. But wondering if SPRY has now included the things that you were wanting that you needed to build on your own.
Oh yeah. So the texting is now built into SPRY as well, where you can communicate with patient. I think your guys' connection is called Emitter. So that was nice. I've been experimenting with that too. So that's a phone and texting application that links right in with SPRY. So your front office can chat with the patient rather than wasting time trying to get a hold of them on the phone. And as time goes on, every 2, 3 months, Bryce, you know, sending out a new feature, which, I've built on the side, and then we switch, we start using SPRY's version, because why am I going to try to maintain this whole side application on my own? So yeah, it's been good to see the healthcare industry, especially physical therapy, starting to catch up, because in 2024, I felt like the EMR I was using was still from 2007 in looks and in function. So now with all of the AI stuff being integrated into SPRY, one of our front office's favorite features is we had a side application that we use to upload authorizations. We have the authorization code, we have the date, we have to upload all of those things and enter them in manually. Now SPRY, we switched over to SPRY's fax. SPRY's fax has an AI built in which scans the document and uploads all of that information for you. The front office just literally has to click, yes, this is correct, and it gets added to the patient's case. So yeah, it's a lot of the features that I had built over the last 2, 3 years are now being integrated into SPRY as it is. And SPRY is great about taking suggestions. So I think they've always been very open with me, asking, hey, what are some of your problem areas? What are you building? Maybe we can just integrate that into our next release.
Appreciate
Just
that.
a quick add-on to that, DJ, that Emitter is a third-party partner. It's not part of SPRY. It's again a third-party partner that we work with. And similarly, they work with our APIs itself to build all the cool things that you've said, right?
Right.
Just also want to add on to what you said, that it's easy for us, or it would be good for us to build all of these things into SPRY too, but you have to understand that it's the core platform that we want and that we maintain. Each of your requirements are very unique to you, right? So it's not easy for us to address every customer requirements the exact way that you would want, which is why we give these open APIs out so that you can build what is custom for you, right? So what is custom for you, what is core for you, it's core for you. We would not want to interfere in there. But when it makes sense for a larger sense of audience is when we decide to bring that back in. And then if it would make sense for a larger audience of the customers, then we would like to build that back into SPRY. But if it's custom and if you want to get it done then and there, you don't have to wait for us, which is why the APIs help you.
Right.
Well said. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, very good. Let's go ahead and move on then. Just keep it. Let's meet Confido Health and Vichar. If you want to speak to what we've done with you.
Yeah. It was great hearing Kevin and BJ's perspective so far. We've seen this across all of our specialty care clients, especially physical therapy, which is a very high phone call volume space. You got a lot of phone calls from patients or referrals to book appointments, to do variety of procedures, etc. So essentially, we started first working with Kevin and Micah and the team at USA Sports Medicine. When we came in initially, they were on a different EMR, the exact same issues that Kevin was mentioning. Like every location had different logins. So in the first few days, essentially what we were trying to do is help them solve for patient access, where they were missing a bulk of their phone calls. We were trying to bring in an AI agent which could answer the first level of phone calls for them, help patients with basic things like booking appointments, rescheduling, canceling, confirming, asking or answering frequently asked questions like where's the parking, which location should I go, stuff like that, etc. But we found very difficult to build it for them because the old EMR that they were using had no open APIs. So we had to, in the initial days, actually build a mid layer where just from Google Works or Google Spreadsheets, we would interact with the front office staff, where we would read from the EMR, help patients do certain tasks, but otherwise we would be posting tasks into Google Sheet that the staff would manually pick it up and go solve in the EMR. As soon as they started migrating to SPRY, that workflow started becoming much and more easier, and we started scaling location by location for USA Sports Medicine. So today, if you call a bulk of US Sports Medicine locations, the first point of contact is a Confido's AI agent called Sarah. Sarah picks up, answers the call, say, hey, how, instead of doing press one, press two, press three, it would be like, hey, how may I help you today? And the patient would be like, I want to book an appointment, I want to schedule an appointment, I want to cancel an appointment, or whatever they need. In the backend, Confido is constantly talking to all of SPRY's APIs for USA Sports locations. So across locations, and patient can book appointments, they can do multiple tasks, etc. Real time on the call itself. And now instead of having staff to do manual tasks, the AI is able to directly book stuff inside SPRY, update things on the spot, and also the USA Sports Medicine has specific rules around how they would allow sometimes double booking or any kind of specific slots booking, etc. Spry was kind enough to also custom make some minor changes for us, which would allow us to do, let's say, double booking in a slot or do certain chair-based booking, etc. as well on the specific scheduling rules. So essentially, the open APIs really helped us build very fast and scale location by location for USA Sports Medicine. Today, I think we are live across 70% of their locations. We are handling 10,000 calls a month. 50% of all calls are completely handled end-to-end by the AI, which is not touching the staff. And the calls that AI cannot handle, be it clinical or any kind of back office queries, we forward to the front office staff at the individual locations.
So I have two things to add to that with Confido. I mean, it's been a great thing that we've been able to add, and it was funny to get the patients at first, educating the patient at first, because quickly when the patients are calling, they instantly want to get to a person, right? So they're trying to press zero or trying to, say representative or operator. And we just kept encouraging our patients, just please give it a chance. Just go tell Sarah your name and what you need to do. And now I have patients come in all the time. Oh my God, I love your system. So easy to cancel, so easy to change my appointment, so easy to, book out for next week, so easy to get to another location. And it's made our front desk so much more effective at their job to not have to handle those calls that could be easily answered by Sarah. So it's been great. And then to the second point with the open API is we have, and BJ has the same problem. We have providers that have different preferences on their schedule. We have providers that have different appointment times, different specialties, different appointment times at different clinics. And so being able to have that all uploaded in Confido and Confido know that information has really made it very easy and effective for us to not miss calls, not miss appointments, not deliver low customer service.
Kevin, there was a question. I think you touched upon it partly about the reaction of patients and then talking to AI. A full-on was that also, does it create a negative perception of the clinic that they're talking to actual AI? Any thoughts on that?
There was a negative perception at first. First of all, you won't know if it's when you answer. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you really won't. But I think the perception initially is because you need a prompt for it to bring up who you are. You need to give your name and date of birth. And the second that happens, some patients were automatically like, oh, I want to get through to a human being to answer this question. When Sarah and Confido can do it so much faster than if you get on the phone with somebody. So, it took about a week or two just to get our current patients used to calling, but everybody that calls in now, I mean, they have nothing but great things to say about it. I mean, it's gotten really, really impressive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Yep. One point to add, I think somebody also asked a question. Yes, the system is completely multilingual. So yes, you can switch between English, Spanish based on your patient's preferences. The patient can be prompted that if they want to switch to Spanish, they can speak Spanish. A lot of USA sports medicine's clinics are based in Florida itself. So we do get a lot of native Spanish speakers who start speaking in Spanish. The AIs would switch to Spanish, but in the back end, the way we talk to SPRY, we already know the language preference as well. So we can accordingly switch once we know who the patient is as well. So the goal is that we are sitting at the front desk, understanding the request and the intent as shown in the slides. And on top of SPRY, we have multiple scheduling rules. So every provider has their scheduling rules around when they can take appointments, existing patients, evals, uh, repeating appointments, etc. And then accordingly, we end up booking the appointment, but also sending a notification via SPRY itself. And it's a two-way notification. So any changes that can be made, SPRY is a good system where we can keep all the records so that the staff also knows what task the AI did, or they need to call the patient back or things like that, etc. There is no like extra Google Sheets, spreadsheets, no extra dashboards. So AI can work as a staff member alongside the staff and complete tasks into it.
Yeah, no, I think people miss using Excel spreadsheets. So yeah, no, that's wonderful. This slide does actually talk about, or just kind of shows that flow that you were just describing right now, Vichar. So I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, if let me know if anybody has anything else that they want to talk about. But we'll now kind of move on to the next segment, which is governance. Although we only have a couple minutes left before I want to kind of open it up for questions. So maybe we can go through this very quickly. But this, I think the quick way to just summarize this one is that when the request starts, this is the infrastructure of how it works. Then we send it to the MCP, which is this AI-driven wrapper that orchestrates which APIs, which tools are going to be called on and acted on and triggered. And then it just talks about how SPRY remains the system of truth and the system of record. Once that orchestration is done, everything is updated and correct. This slide just talks about open infrastructure in general, which is, again, you would think that everybody's open, but the majority of everyone has closed systems. And so even though this is the system architecture of choice, it's very rare. So connections are built through workflows and using the CRM voice agents, which we just talked about, some of the tools that we just talked about. We put those all together for your organization. We use the context. It's not just a single record. It's a rich amount of information. We can query. Again, we can do that in real time within 5 seconds is what I think everybody was talking about, how easy and the access is or how available the access is. It's scalable, and it's going to replace what he just said, talked about the spreadsheets and everything else that the staff has to usually band-aid these types of things, and this just gets rid of all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of sums up, I think, a lot of the conversation that we were just talking about. And then this is the SPRY platform at a glance, just comprehensively. Okay, well, very good. Let's go ahead and move on to just questions in general.
There was a question that I wanted to pick up, Adam, because it
Sure.
was on the MCP side. So it was asking, would you be able to connect Cloud Cowork with the EMR, right? So that exactly is what the MCP gives you, allows you to do. So you can ask Claude Cowork to connect to SPRY, and you can then start working with the EMR in your Claude Cowork, right? So that's exactly what the MCP does for you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think we addressed this one. I'm just kind of looking back through some of the questions, but why do other EMR companies then don't share open APIs? And I was trying to address that, I think, at the very beginning. One is that their infrastructure, when they're all bolted together and duct tape and string, when their infrastructure is wrong, they are not able to. They have enough problems just keeping their systems talking to each other. They can't even think about opening it up to the outside world. So that good question. But yeah, I have seen systems build APIs that had bolted on systems together, but it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of breaking points. So even the ones that do have APIs that have bolted together systems are very difficult to continue with that.
There's a question from Anu on when information is pulled using Cowork or using the API. Is any PHI being extracted? Is there any way to get only the patient IDs come over? The tools allows for both of the accesses. But given that it's connected using your credentials and you're getting the data, it allows you to get the patient ID only, or you can get the PHI data too, depending upon how you want to access it. That's an option that's there today. There was one question about whether maybe that's Confido, Vicar, if you can maybe pick it up, whether the voice can be customized for the therapist. I don't know if that's something that you would want to talk about a bit.
Yeah, sure. I think, yeah, so definitely voices can be cloned or we can have a likeness. A lot of our clients do that they like certain voices, so they tell us to have a similar likeness or cloned or tone, etc. So that is definitely possible. Of course, having permissions of the voices that we are trying to clone, so that is definitely possible.
Got you. Thanks for that. Dr. Kevin, one last question to you, probably as to any closing thoughts from your side on your experiences and what you think is there ahead for you?
Any closing thoughts on my experience and what? Sorry?
On your experiences and any what are you looking forward to?
What I'm looking forward to, I think, I just think the AI capabilities of the system are really cool. I continuously look forward to the ability to make documentation always easier for therapists. It's the number one thing they complain about. So this has made us even a lot better at documentation. But I love the SPRY app where you can document, in a car ride home or on a break or whatever, and push it to a SOAP note later. I think that's great. And so I just think the ability to do all this stuff and how flexible SPRY is able to be has been really going to be a game changer for us as we continue to expand.
Wonderful. Thank you. And BJ, if I may, one last question to you too. What next are you building? So you said a couple of things that you've already built. What's next on your list of things to do?
I think we are gonna start looking into contactless check-ins. I think that would be nice to where we can free up the front office even more, where patients can hopefully just check in from their phone like they can at some of the other larger healthcare organization where they send a simple text that I'm here and it checks them in. Um, that would be nice. Free up the front office even more.
Wonderful. And Vikar, from your side, how are you seeing the industry progressing?
Yep, I think so. Now with the AI and MCP and open APIs coming into play, uh, across the industry, there's a lot of chatter around how do we use AI end to end, not just in front office, but also going towards back office, automating even deeper manual tasks like prior authorization, insurance verification. Connecting the dots between front office and back office is becoming very important. So that's where the industry is right now focusing on that. Can we have end-to-end AI task automation, not just AI as a co-pilot, but AI as a pilot as well?
Wonderful. And I think that's on the same lines that we have also been seeing AI agents and how do we make sure that we can do a lot of these stuff using the agentic pieces, and that's what we're also concentrating on. Thanks a lot. Anything else on your side, Aaron, that you're going to close up?
Yeah, one question was, do they have to pay additional for the API access?
No, it comes along bundled with SPRY. There's no additional access cost for the API.
If you would like, here's a slide that actually has a QR code that takes you directly over to our API page. So you can explore it on your own. You can see exactly what we have to offer, and be able to navigate that yourself if you're curious about what areas of our platform are open for that. There's also a link over here on the left to book a demonstration. If you have a lot of questions, then just book a demonstration. We'll get we'll get right into the details, and we'll take you through all the details that you want to understand. But yeah, thanks to everybody. Yeah, appreciate your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Thanks,
Kevin.
everybody.
Thanks, PJ. Thanks, Vika.
Thank you.